Hello everyone, this is Kona and thank you for tuning in to another video. Now I'm continuing my series where I look at the similarities and differences between the playstyle of a class from Team Fortress 2 and a hero from Overwatch that's inspired by that class. Just from their primary weapon alone, you can tell that Junkrat is partially inspired by our favorite black Scottish cyclops, to put it in his words. So what's the one thing you need to know about these characters? Yep, that's all you need to know. Congratulations, you are now an explosives expert in both games. No, of course not. That's not the only thing that these characters do. There's a lot more to them than just spamming. Both Demoman and Junkrat have similar roles on the team. They're even both categorized as defensive characters in their respective games, but that doesn't mean that they should only be used on defense. Both dish out huge amounts of damage, some of the highest DPS in the game, and they're really good at, well, spamming, space control, and setting traps. See? I came prepared with 3 points this time, although I'm sure you guys will have other S words that I could have used. What's great is that they can hit targets that they can't see. You can lob grenades over a wall or bounce them around the corner. You can even do a pretty good job shooting upwards when the enemy has the high ground advantage, which can be difficult for many other classes that use straight projectiles or hit scan weapons. Space control is an important job too. Well-placed grenades and stickies will force the enemy to either back off, which buys you more time for the objective, or it forces them to move closer to you, which makes them easier to hit with your follow-up nades. I might also consider Junkrat's Riptire ultimate a form of space control. It's obviously designed to deal large amounts of AoE damage, but it can also be used to make the enemy stop in their tracks, forcing them to find your Riptire to destroy it, or to run away from it, causing them to scatter. Setting traps is one of the more fun parts about playing Demoman and Junkrat, but they do it a bit differently. The Demoman sticky traps are mainly there to deal damage when the enemies get in range, and it's something that you have to activate manually. Junkrat, on the other hand, with his steel trap, is simply an ability that locks the enemy in place for a few seconds. It does a little bit of damage, but it usually requires follow-up damage from you or your teammates to finish them off. The trap is a little difficult to see depending on where it's placed, and sometimes it looks like it's buried deep in the ground, which makes it even harder to see. But it can only be placed on horizontal surfaces and inclines like stairs and ramps, so as long as you're looking there, it's not that bad. The Demoman, on the other hand, can set traps almost anywhere. You can put them above doorways, around corners on the walls, and even in some really sneaky spots like hiding it within level geometry that doesn't have a collision box. Even though their primary weapons look similar, they function a bit differently, so going back and forth between the two can be a bit confusing at first. The Demoman has 4 nades per clip, even though the model clearly shows 6. Am I the only one that's still a little bit bothered by this? I don't know. Anyway, that's 4 nades that reload one at a time compared to the 5 that Junkrat has that reloads all at once. Now I still have this problem with Junkrat where I shoot 4 grenades with him and then reload out of habit just because I play Demoman. I have the same problem with Farah. She has 6 rockets available and I ended up just shooting 4 and then reloading because I play so much soldier. I really gotta stop doing that. Now both of their primary weapons have an arc to them and explode on impact, causing splash damage, but if you want to use them as rollers, they function very differently. The Demoman's pipes explode about 2.3 seconds after firing, so if someone spams them as fast as possible, they'll explode with a sort of predictable rhythm that you can actually use to your advantage if you're trying to dodge them. Now because of the shape and spin of the Demoman's pipes, bouncing can be a bit unpredictable, which can be a good or bad thing depending on the situation. In contrast, Junkrat's nades are round and they bounce off of surfaces more predictably, but they explode after 3 bounces, not based on time. This means that they can sometimes explode in a different order than they were fired, depending on the bounces, which makes them less predictable in that sense. This also means you can lob them much further than the Demoman, making Junkrat pretty good at long-range spamming. Now onto their respective sticky bomb weapons, which I feel is the biggest factor that differentiates the Demoman and Junkrat. Now, the Demoman's sticky bomb launcher dishes out huge amounts of damage, so much so that higher level players tend to use it as their primary weapon rather than a pipe bomb launcher because of its more consistent damage output. You can use it to set traps, as mentioned before, you can cut off enemy escape routes to force the enemy to move a certain way, and you can even snipe really long distance targets by charging a shot. Junkrat's concussion mine, on the other hand, is truly a secondary ability that supplements his primary weapon. You can stick it pretty much anywhere except other players, which gives you lots of choice on where to put it. You can set your steel trap down with a mine nearby to deal a good amount of damage, but you can also use your concussion mine as sort of a finishing move after landing some really good hits with your grenade launcher. The throw range is pretty good too, so don't be afraid to use it at medium range if someone's trying to run away or they're trying to take cover behind a corner. It can also be used as a get off me and escape tool because if you detonate it between you and an enemy, both of you will go flying in opposite directions due to the knockback. Last up is their mobility. Their walking speed is not that bad, it's pretty average, but both can use their stickies to, quote, sticky jump if they really want to get going. Now I think Demoman is the fastest class in TF2 because he can detonate 2 stickies at once. That's a lot of force and you can see them go flying. I mean, just play any game on Badwater, you'll probably see a Demoman fly over your head, right? There are more complicated ways of sticky jumping like chaining them together and pogoing, although I don't really see this too much used in game, so I think they're more of a side thing that you can do on jump maps. But even still, a regular sticky jump with a single sticky is very effective to get over or around the enemy and flank them from positions they wouldn't really be expecting you from. But try to steer clear of sentries though. If they wither your health down too low or they trap you in a corner with that pushback, you are not gonna have a happy landing. Now Junkrat can sticky jump as well with his concussion mine, but it has an 8-second cooldown, so use it wisely. What's nice is that you don't take self-damage from it when you use it, and there's no fall damage in Overwatch at all, so when you sticky jump, you'll be at full health when you land. The Demoman does have the sticky jumper to minimize self-damage, but fall damage is still something you have to consider in TF2. Now if you want to be a little more fancy with your sticky jumping with Junkrat, you can use 2 of them in the same maneuver, but you'll have to wait for that cooldown to end on your first mine to gain access to that second one. Now one last thing to mention that's very different is the lack of air strafing in Overwatch. You have some maneuverability in the air, but it's nowhere near the control you get in TF2. Now air strafing does require some practice to do, but like with many things in TF2, once you learn how to use it, you gain a significant advantage over others who can't. Now one thing that I personally like to do is bomb in as Junkrat, kind of like how the soldier bombs in TF2. I like to bomb in as Junkrat with a concussion mine and start just blasting away, but I find that without that air strafing, I'm actually a pretty easy target in the air. So now it's time for me to choose which one I personally enjoy playing the most, at least right now, and it's definitely the Demoman. If it was just up to the primary weapons alone, it would be kind of a close call, but the Demoman's sticky bomb launcher is what really makes him more fun to play, at least for me. It makes him much more maneuverable, it gives him very high, very consistent DPS overall, and there's different ways to use a sticky bomb launcher, which makes things a little more interesting. I do want to quickly mention Demo Knight because I'm sure someone will mention this in the comments. The closest hero that I can think of for Demo Knight is Reinhardt because they're melee-based playstyles and they both have a charge, but they play very different roles in the team, and I personally would actually still prefer Demo Knight since I enjoy DPS a little bit more rather than being a tank. But what about you? If you play TF2 and Overwatch, who do you like playing more, the Demoman or Junkrat? And of course I'll ask this again, if they were to fight, who would win? Let me know in the comments below. So I hope you enjoyed this video, thank you very much for watching, and have a great day.